All right, hey guys, welcome to a college algebra special. We're going to talk today about the transformations of functions. Okay, today we're going to talk about shifts, stretches, and reflections. I think these are things that you should know about, but let's just get started. We're going to look at these three basic functions. These three basic functions right here. Okay, and then we're going to look at what these do to them. Notice they all have something added or subtracted to the function. So let's go over here. We have a blue graph, y equals x squared. And please note, we're going to add 2. Okay, so let's look at this graph. What happens? I'm going to pull it down here a little bit. What happens when I add 2? Well, notice it's the same graph, but it's shifted up 2. Okay, so we went up 2. Okay, so let's go back and let's look at the square root of x. Let's go here. We'll put that one in. There's the square root. And now outside the radical, it's not inside. We're going to go outside the radical. And if you'll notice, this one drops 3. I'm going to go ahead and put y equals the square root of x back on there. But notice, guys, it's the same graph. It's just down 3. Okay, so this is down 3. Okay. And then I think hopefully you're starting to see a little pattern, but let's just make sure it works with x cubed. So let's come over here, and we're going to add 3. We're going to add, uh-oh, I didn't want to add 3. Sorry, it's a little bit harder to tell, but these two are the same graph. But notice it's up 1, 2, 3. It's the same graph, it's just up 3. Okay, so shifts, stretches, and reflections. These are all what are known as vertical shifts. Okay, all right, let's move on here. Let's consider the following. Now, all of these have a form. All of these are from the form y equals x squared. Okay, so y equals x squared. So let's graph all of these. I'm going to get rid of all of these unnecessary ones. Let's put that in blue. And let's do y equals x minus 2 squared. I think that's what we wanted. Okay. Notice now it's the same graph, but now we have moved it right 2. Okay, so now we've moved it right 2. This one went right 2. Okay. So let's go back here. Let's change this one. This one may be a little bit harder to tell. But let's go 3x squared. Okay. Notice this one got a little skinnier. And I want to look at this point right here. This is 1, 1 right here. Well, at 1, when x is 1, we go to 3. Okay. At 2, 4. Okay. At 2, 4. All right. 2, 4. Oh, you can't see it. At 2, 4. Okay. That point goes to 2, 12. So hopefully it makes sense to you that we're going to take the y times 3. So the y times 3. Okay. Let's see what happens here with negative x squared. Okay, so let's put a negative out front here. Negative, oh, the graph disappeared. But you can see here, now we have a mirrored graph. It's reflected over the x-axis. It's reflected over the x-axis. So when we put a negative out front, it's reflected over the x-axis. So that brings me to this thought bubble. What if I put the negative inside the parentheses? Well, you guys should know this. Okay, you should know this. I'm going to put this in parentheses here. No, that's not what I wanted. Let me just start all over here. So y equals negative x squared. Well, but look at this. We have the same graph. Now, hopefully this makes sense, and we'll talk more about this. But what happens here is we reflected this one over the x-axis. This gets reflected over the y-axis. Okay, so it's reflected over the y-axis. Okay, so these are pretty simple examples. We'll talk more about this in class. Hopefully you guys have seen this before and you kind of know. Whenever it's in parentheses, it's going to act a little different. So with the minus, we're going to go right 2. Here we're taking all the y values times 3. So these things should be somewhat familiar to you. But let's do this. Let's put it all together. What happens if I have all of this here? Let's see if we can pick all of this out here. Okay. So let's put this all together. We have negative 3, and we have x minus 2, quantity squared, and plus 2. All right, so and we're going to focus on this point right here, 0, 0. We're going to see how that becomes 2, 2. All right, this is the vertex here, and it becomes the vertex 2, 2 here. All right, so we're going to go right 2. Okay, so we're going to go right 2. I'm going to build this up for us here. All right, and I'm just going to do the order of operations. Well, what's the first thing here? The first thing here is to, oh, that's not what I wanted. First thing to do is I'm going to make this one a different color. Let's make it orange. Okay, so I'm going to work the order of operations. So in this one here, first thing to do is work inside the parentheses. So notice I've moved it right 2. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply it by 3. And remember, it got skinnier, okay? So notice my point is I've moved it right 2, okay? And the y value is times 3, but you can see how it got skinnier, okay? So now I'm going to put a negative out front. That's the next thing in the order of operations. And notice now my graph has gone from being up here to reflected over the x-axis. And then this plus 2 is going to push it up 2. And that's how this graph here turns into this graph here. Okay, so that's putting it all together. Guys, we're going to work a lot of examples in class, so hopefully this makes a little more sense to you. So notice we have a lot that's going on here. Just work simply in the order of operations. So work in the order of operations, and that'll tell you what to do. All right, guys, that's it for this one. I've got a little long-winded. I think there's a lot of information here.